Hello bell winners, I want to welcome you all to another exciting tutorial. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make a female trouser. Now this trouser is going to be a high waist trouser and the leg is going to be straight leg, straight cut. And before us here is our measurements. We're going to be needing our waist to hip, waist to crotch, waist to above knee, waist to full length, bust span or darts. I like calling it darts rather than bust span. A round waist, round hip, and round lap or thigh. The round lap here I'm talking about is above the upper part of your leg, your thigh, rather the upper part, and then the round ankle. Please, I want to ask all of you, in case you haven't joined our Facebook group yet, Bellwin Creations Community, please do. Also comment, make requests, invite your friends to join and participate in the group, alright? And please do not share my videos. Instead, I encourage you all to invite your friends to our WhatsApp group, to our Telegram group, and also our Facebook group, so that they can also learn from you. I've gone ahead to mark out our waistline, hip line. Yes, you still need your hip line for a trouser to checkmate things. And our crotch line, our above knee line, and of course our full length line. Now, if you look at the wideness of my fold here is 14.5 inches. That is because of my calculation. For my client, her round hip, which is the largest part of her body measurement, is body circumference measurement is 38. 38 divided by 4 will give you 9.5. From that 9.5, I've marked out 4 inches for our crotch allowance. So 9.5 plus 4 inches, that's making it 13.5 inches. And I've also given 1 inch allowance for the sides. That's making it 14.5 inches. Now, for a normal trouser fold, the front doesn't really have seam allowance because the back side is going to be bigger than the front, so you give all the allowance to the back side. But I'll advise you to always add 1 inch to your front irrespective of that rule, so as not to have any shortages. In case you have excess at the end of the day, you can always trim off, but if you have any shortage, then you're in trouble. But that won't be. So let's go ahead and continue our markings. So right now I have made this side to be our center front, our crotch line, and this is going to be our side. So from this side I'm going to take out the 4 inches that I've given for my crotch allowance, all the way from the waistline down to the full length line. I'll do that and show you. So I have gone ahead to mark out our 4 inches line for our crotch allowance, all the way from the waistline down to the full length line. So the next step I want to take here is to start marking out my crotch. Now I have taken a whopping 12 inches for my crotch length, from my waist to my crotch. This is because it's a high waist pants trouser, like I said, and my client is a little bit weighty, so it's not a leopard person, it's a little bit fat, so I've given this much allowance. And I've also given this 4 inches allowance too for the crotch. I didn't mean it's a leopard or slim person, I would have made it 3 or maybe 2.5 inches, but to avoid stories that touch packing and the rest, I've make it 4 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and curve out the crotch this way. From the waistline I'm going to make a curve just as if you are curving your armhole, but I'm going to give it ½ inch allowance from here, then curve it all the way down. So I have made my curve ½ inch allowance all the way, curving it to the crotch line as if you want to curve your armhole, just the same way. Now for the down part from my crotch line to my above knee, I'm going to also make a curve this way. You may want to take ½ inch to all the way down, but that is not quite necessary to me, so I'm going to find a place around here to push my line in to be in one line with the 4 inches allowance. The next step now is to go over to our shaping. Now my client's round waist is 32 divided by 4, that will give us 8 inches, which is here. Now this 8 inches will also determine if I'm going to be adding my darts, if it's 8 inches. But if you want to add your darts, you add 1 more inch to whatever your waist inches is. So I'm not adding that to the front of this trouser, I'm only going to be doing that at the back. Then I move over to my hip. I need this hip line to checkmate things. My client's round hip is 9.5, so I'm going to be marking out my 9.5 inches here on my hip line. Now for the crotch, this is actually the part where our round lap comes into play. My client's round lap is 23 inches. Now 23 inches divided by 2 will make it 11.5. So from here I'm going to be marking out 11.5. But unlike here, that I'm starting from this 4 inches line for the round waist and the round hip measurements, for our round lap on our crotch line, I'm going to be making sure that this 11.5 starts from this beginning, this pointy end here. That is where my 11.5 is going to be starting from. So I'm going to place the tape here, unlike the hip and the waist where I started from this 4 inches line. But for the round lap on the crotch line, I'm going to be starting from this point, and wherever our 11.5 inches stops, that's where I'm going to take it. Now you can see the difference. If I'm going to draw out the shape, is quite different. Now I drew the hip line to checkmate things, right? If you remember clearly what I told you. So because of this, now I'm going to make this place straight, because if I should follow this 11.5 inches here, there's going to be a challenge with my trouser. So by making this line straight together with the hip line, my clients won't have any issues like packing, or that the crotch place not being straight or smooth wherever he or she is wearing it. But however, if you are fortunate that your client's round lap is the same width or a little bit greater than the hip, measurements here, then there is no challenge. But in this case, if your client's round lap is a little bit smaller or this small than the hip measurement, please increase it, make it equal. There is no challenge with that at all. It's still going to be looking very neat and free when your clients put it on. Now the last thing is also for our knee curve measurement. Our knee curve measurement, we are just going to be going above knee, rather, sorry, another name for above knee is knee curve. I do call it knee curve in my fashion academy. For my clients, it is 17 inches divided by 2, that's 8.5. So from here I'm going to go back to this line and I'll mark out 8.5, and you can see it's almost the same. So if it is a straight trouser, from here I'm going to be marking out 8.5 all the way down. If it is a pencil, you want to measure your client's round ankle, like I said in the measurement. Whatever your round ankle gives to you, divide it by 2. That is what is going to be at the full length line. Because it is a straight trouser, so I'm going to be taking 8.5. However, there's also a boot cut. There's another type of trouser called boot cut, where this cowboy trouser, there you will need more allowance. You will need up to 3 or 4 inches allowance. And then from here, you're going to slant it out, just like you do your 6 pieces or A-line skirts. You're going to be slanting it out. But for pencil and straight trouser, you just go on a straight line for straight, and you divert inside for your pencil trouser. So I'm going to be taking 8.5 inches all the way down to the full length line. Pick this out. So this is your trouser well cut out. And pardon me, I forgot to mention, my client's full length is actually 40 inches long, but I made it 42 inches long because your trouser normally has a very wide folding at the edge. Normally it's not very small folding that you give, hemming allowance that you give to your trouser. It's a wide one, so that's why I made it 42 inches. And now if you look at the size, this is the original shaping line that I drew, but if you look at the full length side, it is exactly the same line I cut it, and as I'm going up, I brought my hand outside to give it like 1 inch allowance on the hip to the knee cuff side. Yes, here needs your allowance because this is where actually your shortage or your challenge usually comes from in your trousers. But as for the down, there is no challenge. It can still be on the straight line, but if you wish to, you can continue with your 1 inch allowance all the way down. Now let's go back to the back. Now to cut your back piece, all you need to do is to fold your